Welcome to the On a Mission Mojo podcast, where I have the pleasure of interviewing impact-driven founders, entrepreneurs, authors, and business experts who are actively working to create a positive difference in our world. I'm your host, Lori Young, a branding specialist, certified master marketer, and a passionate advocate for brands that possess heart, soul, and an unwavering commitment to drive change for humanity. It takes grit, a visionary mindset, and an abundance of mojo to navigate this journey. And the stories I share will undoubtedly ignite your passion. If you're seeking an infusion of inspiration, motivation, and valuable insights to amplify your impact, let's dive right in. Welcome to On a Mission Mojo podcast. I am super stoked for our kickoff guest today. Her mission is something that's very dear to my heart, and I can share a little bit about that later. But let me just formally introduce you to Sheri Jones. She is a passionate serial entrepreneur, teacher, investor, and philanthropist dedicated to empowering young minds through entrepreneurship. Together with her husband, Ben, they founded Youth in Business, an innovative education program aimed at equipping children with financial education and independence. They have become a trusted resource for parents nurturing young entrepreneurs. With countless success stories under their belt, they have guided numerous families in helping their kids achieve financial independence and realize their dreams. Their mentor children have launched incredible businesses, gaining widespread recognition in local, national, and international media. Some have even out-earned their school principals and made headlines, with one even authoring a book on their journey. Several of their young prodigies are even poised to purchase homes before the age of 18. That's so cool. Sheri is an experienced podcast guest and can offer insights on various avenues for kids to make money, motivating them to run successful businesses, addressing the flaws in the current system, and guiding them toward liberation. So welcome, Sheri. I am so excited that you're here. I actually met Sheri through another podcast episode that I did with her husband's business partner, right?
Oh, yes, that's right.
With Marvin?
Yep.
Oh, Marcus. I'm sorry, Marcus. Yes. Yep. Yeah. So I'm just so happy that we are able to talk today. So why don't we just kick it off and just talk to the listeners a little bit about your mission?
Yeah, so me and my husband Ben are super passionate about teaching kids really life and business skills. So originally I'm a grade school teacher, so I love working with young people, always have. And then when we started having our own kids, we were really excited to teach them the skills to essentially escape the rat race before they even enter it. So, there's no better time to start a business when you don't have a mortgage and car payments and bills than a young person. And I think young people have so many skills now, especially tech and online skills, that they can really leverage to really create an amazing, income for them. So when they graduate from school, or even if they want to go to college, they are able to really, their business can fund them to do that and give them the lifestyle and the freedoms that, rather than having to be able to, trading their time for dollars the whole time. So, yeah, we're really passionate about teaching kids life and financial skills that we weren't taught when we were in school.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sheri is in Australia, which I think is super cool. I'm in California, United States. So are you working with kids across the globe?
Yeah, so prior to COVID, we used to run live events, so they were free for parents and kids to come along to, because we really want to open as many kids' minds that are possible. So we'd run live events, and that would be sort of the kickoff point. We'd have the entrepreneurs that we work with come on stage. Kids could ask them questions, really fantastic. Since COVID, over here in Australia, it was pretty full on. We were locked down in our state for over a year. You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even leave the state. So with that, we had to pivot to a more of an online model. So before COVID, we ran events in London, in Europe, in Australia, and we were looking at coming to the US. Now we've pivoted to more of an online model. But the great thing about that is our range is exponential, so we can help even
Sure.
more kids. So now we have online training that people can go check out at youthandbusiness.com, and we really want to, help educate and just open kids' minds to the possibilities out there for them today.
Okay. So tell me, like, just a little bit about your story. Like, I'm just guessing that something like sparked that passion in you for this particular mission. How did you get here? Like, what made you decide to do this?
Yeah, so I think after my husband and I got married, we took a year to go traveling together, which was absolutely awesome. And we really had that lifestyle where we were able to, travel and choose to do our time as we wished for a whole 12 months. After that
Wow.
experience, when we came back, we were like, we wanted to maintain that lifestyle when we started to have our own family. And so
Mm-hmm.
for us, we always had that goal of reaching financial freedom ourselves. So we set a goal for 5 years. I think it took us nearly 6 years to be able
Mm-hmm.
to get to the point where we had enough income coming in passively that we could be able to quit our full-time jobs. And so going through that process, and we did that through various avenues, through online business and property and shares and so on. And so for us, we were like, how cool would it be if kids were able to have an income and not have to step into the rat race and be able to basically sidetrack and fast track their success?
Mm-hmm.
And so working with young people, my son at the time, my eldest was set. So we have four children now. At the
That's what I was going
time,
to ask you.
yeah, four children, ranging from 5 through to 15.
Okay.
So my three older boys, and I have a daughter. The
Okay.
three boys run a business together, and so I think the biggest month they've done in the last year or so has been about $20,000 US in their
That's
business. They sell,
amazing.
and it's really great. Obviously, the kids get excited about the cash flow, but for Ben and I, it's really all the skills that they're developing. So,
Mm-hmm.
siblings argue, siblings have their moments, but when they're all working on their business, it is fantastic because all those differences get put aside. They have a common goal they're working towards. So it's quite a bonding experience as well as a
Sure.
family. So I love that as a side part. And then obviously your kids develop so many skills. We talk about developing the skill set of an entrepreneur so that your kids can take an idea and follow a system to implement that to create a business. And so what we love is the kids are developing interpersonal skills. They can go out and promote themselves and their business.
Mm-hmm.
Living in an online world, a lot of kids are losing that interpersonal skills. So they're developing their
Yes.
confidence. And it's just great to see the relationships and the networks they're building at such a young age. We have kids that have been on media all over the world. We've got kids that are connecting with, CEOs, kids that have been on Shark Tank. And so it's really great
Wow.
to see the advantage and the networks that they're developing at such a young age.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember my younger son. He's, for whatever reason, he's kind of always had like an entrepreneurial kind of mindset. And I remember he was about, I want to say like 8, maybe something like 7 or 8, right? And he was totally into like sauces. Like he loved to dip his chicken nuggets in sauces. And so like one day he decided, I want to create my own sauce. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And he just starts like grabbing all kinds of things, like, out of the refrigerator, and, mixing all kinds of different things. And he had like 3 or 4 different like sauces going. And even today, like he's in college now, but even today, like the biggest thing that I hear come out of his mouth is, I just want to do my own thing. I just want to do my own thing. He's a total car nut. And his dream is to own his own like car dealership, but not like a traditional dealership, but something where there's exotic cars and people come in and have coffee and donuts and look at all of the exotic cars. And, it remains to be seen whether or not he'll actually like make that happen, but he's minoring in entrepreneurship. Um,
No.
yeah. So it's just really cool to like see that there's just someone out there like you guys that are like really assisting kids, because I'm sure you've worked with a lot of kids, and I'm sure that there's some kids that just naturally feel drawn to entrepreneurship. Do you find that, like, or do you feel like that's something that you actually nurture in kids?
I think, like you say, when there's that spark of interest from your child, like with your son and the sauces, awesome
Hmm.
story. I think as a parent, if you can support and nurture that at the time, it's a bit like a spark when you're trying to build a fire. And so if you can nurture that initial spark, that will grow into something. And that's what I liken it to. So I think with your kids, there will be a moment in time potentially. And the thing
Hmm.
is, I have multiple kids. We've had clients come to us, for example, they have 3 kids. One is interested in business and entrepreneurship. The other 2 aren't. But the
Okay.
great thing is that when that one child has started growing their business and the other kids see the experiences they're having and the cash flow coming in, the other kids are like, hang on a minute, I want to do something too. So it's sort of a little bit contagious in a really, really good way,
Exactly.
because the siblings will see the changes in that one child. So even if you only have one child that's interested, I think if you can nurture that spark, nurture that entrepreneurialism in them,
Hmm.
and then I think the environment that you provide for them along the way obviously shapes them as young entrepreneurs. But yeah, the biggest thing that we can do as parents is just be there to support them on their journey. Obviously, it is their journey, but instead of being a dream killer and saying, oh, wait till you're older, or what about this regulation, or what about this, I think if you can just kids think big, and that's one of the things I love about them is they just have that open mind and creativity. And I think if you
Hmm.
could nurture that, they can go such a long way in the business world and in entrepreneurship.
So I'm curious, with all of the kids that you've worked with, like, is there any like particular like minimum age, for instance, that you feel like these kids can start to grasp the idea of owning a business, growing a business, and all of the kind of, what goes with entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so here at youthinbusiness.com, we recommend 8 all the way through to, say, 2021 is sort
Okay.
of the age range we recommend. Obviously, when Trent first started his business, my son, he was 8, and he
Okay.
needed more support and guidance from us as parents. But now that he's 15, so he'll have an idea for a product. And I'm like, great, son, go online, find your suppliers. He'll negotiate with them. He's he's doing all of it. And then right at the end, I'll overlook his numbers, make sure it all stacks up and go, yep, go for it. So he's doing 99% of everything with his business. He'll say, hey, mum, I've got orders. I have the envelopes and the stamps and everything they need. And they're writing out to and shipping their products out to their customers. So obviously, I think with teenagers, they can implement
Hmm.
and run a lot of it themselves. But with younger kids, obviously, they need a little bit more guidance. But I think
Sure.
whenever your child shows interest is the perfect time to be able to really capture that and run with it and see them with their
Yeah, because,
success.
well, if you think about it, I've at least heard stories. Like, I've seen people like post stories on, social media, like, their whole brand story. And, you'll hear stories about entrepreneurs who will literally say, I started, in entrepreneurship when I was 5 years old and I was doing X. Like, my spouse, like, she has been like a long time entrepreneur, and she can remember like days way back, like where she was like paying, like people wanted to come see movies and they didn't have the ability to see movies, so she would have them pay pay to come see a movie at her house. Her mom and her would make popcorn and different stuff, and she would like, and all these kids would come. And she also had like another business where uh, she had a riding lawnmower, and all of the kids like wanted to ride the lawnmower. So she would get the jobs to like mow people's lawns, but then she would have like her workers, like the people that wanted to ride the lawnmower, actually doing the work. So it's like, some I
Very
just,
savvy.
yeah, I just feel like sometimes some people's brains are just like wired that way from like really, really young. So it's really cool that like you start with kids as young as like 8 years old. That's
Yeah, well, 8 was when my son started his interest. We actually had some friends over for dinner, and Trent was making these colourful potions in the backyard. And then, without even talking to us first, he came and tried to sell them to our friends, and we sort of laughed it off. We laughed it off. But when our friends went home, we sat down, Trent, and we said, "Okay, if you want to sell something, that's great. How can we really provide value?" And so I think, that at the time, this is not something, youth in business was something we didn't even conceive, and it sort of grew organically out of Trent's natural entrepreneurial interest. But
mhm,
yeah, I think if you the great thing is if you can build upon their interest, that's a great place to start. But I think when they start implementing their business, they start to see new opportunities, and I think that entrepreneurial skill set, it really opens their minds to, they start seeing like other opportunities out there and what they can do. And so that's how Trent's, my eldest, business has really pivoted as he's grown. So the idea that your kids start with will most likely, not be the idea that they end up with. But the
mhm.
great thing is that every stage of that process, they're learning skills, they're implementing those learnings for success, and they're really, I believe, giving them a competitive advantage, developing skills a lot of other kids don't have out there, and then they apply that into growing and moving forward, into bigger ideas. And so
Right.
it's a journey. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even like adult entrepreneurship, it's no different. You are constantly in this ever evolving uh, space where oftentimes you're pivoting, right? I mean, I've just recently myself gone through a pivot, and sometimes you feel like, gosh, am I like a flake? Because I'm changing, or is it just that I'm evolving and learning new things and learning about like what what makes us like really jazzed up, like what we're really good at. And like I think entrepreneurship is kind of like parenting, right? You're constantly learning on the journey, right?
Yes, I agree. And it's constantly testing and measuring. Hey, like, oh,
Mhm.
we have this idea. Let's test it out. Did it work? Okay, great. How can we scale that? Oh, this one didn't go the way that we were planning. Let's try something else. I
Mhm.
agree. That's a really nice analogy.
Yeah, absolutely. So as with any mission, there's always ups and downs. Maybe you can share just a little bit about like what's been the hardest part for you and your husband, like to carry out this mission?
I think obviously COVID was a major challenge because we
Hmm.
were running live events. So that was a
Hmm.
very big challenge to us in our business. We actually had a venue booked with over 1,000 people coming. We had to cancel the whole thing,
Uh,
notify everyone. That was a pretty big challenge. Other than that, I think with any entrepreneur, like as a business owner myself, it's just keeping up your motivation.
mhm.
I think when challenges come, no matter what they look like, sometimes as a business owner, I feel like you're just solving the next problem and solving the next problem. And there are obviously some are small, some are big problems. But I think if you can keep up your motivation and really tap into your purpose and your why of why you're doing this and the impact that you really want to make, that really helps you overcome those challenges and really, you remember why you're out there and
Hmm.
the passion and the difference that you really want to make to people.
Right. And I think too, one of the biggest motivations can be just that taste of success, however that success looks for you, right? For us, like I love it when we go to design a new brand and a new website for a client. And, of course, there's all kinds of challenges along the way. But the day that website launches and is out in the world, it's like, yes, this feels like so good, right? I know that you like have worked with a lot of kids, and I'm just super curious to know like what are some of like the really fun success stories that you've had with kids. You talked a lot about that when I introduced you, like just some of the people that are out earning their principals, they're going to be buying houses. Tell me about some of those, or tell the listener, should I say?
Sure. So, yeah. So one of my favorites, Ned, he joined, came to Youth in Business when he was just 11, but
Okay.
had a massive mission. He's super passionate about ocean conservation. So he's part of the world in Queensland. He would go on holiday, and in one particular area, there would just be myriads and streams of rubbish and in particular, plastic toothbrushes. So even the
Okay.
plastic toothbrush we used as tiny little toddlers are still on the planet today. And so he had a massive mission that he wanted to use sustainable products and really
Hmm.
clean up oceans. And so what Ned did was, he started with initially just bamboo toothbrushes. Now he does over $10,000 a month in his business. We actually created an award called our 10K Club because what we found was there was so many kids growing their businesses to a point where we really wanted to recognize them for
Hmm.
the impact that they're making. So the great thing is at just 11, Ned won the International Be the Change Award. This was in
Oh,
2019. And so part of his profits with his business, he donates to charities that are part of ocean cleanups. And
that's
so
cool.
he really wants to make a difference. He's written a children's book about how kids can really make an impact at their environment at a young age. And so he gets out, reads his book, and really wants to educate the younger generation. And so I just think it's awesome. Obviously, he's running a profitable business. He's the
Mhm.
CEO. His mum and dad have actually quit their jobs to work full time in the business for him. So it's really a
Wow.
family affair. And the great thing is, he's just passionate, like he's pursuing his passion, but in a
Mhm.
profitable way with his business behind him. And so he's been on publicity, he's won business awards, and has really been able to get out there and educate, people about the difference they really can make to the environment. So that's a really cool story, and they're an awesome family, the Hedons, that we've been able to help.
That's very cool. Very cool. So, tell me, I guess, a little bit how you work with these kids. Like, do you said your program is online? Is it like kind of like a schooling that they go through, or like how do they work with you and get like the education that they need, or
Sure. So
how do you support them?
yeah, so the first step is obviously if you head to youthinbusiness.com, we actually have free training because we want to help as many young people as we can. We have a list of 101 winning business ideas. So if you're like, hey, I love this, but I just don't know where to start, that's
Hmm.
completely fine. You can head over there, check out that resource and watch the training. And that's really our 5-step system that any young person can use to create a successful business. Then from there, in terms of the people that we work with, we run online training. So people
Hmm.
join us, we have online training, and we have systems that we teach through there. People can ask questions live. We obviously offer email support and live support for them. With Youth in Business, we actually start with a challenge. It's called our $20 challenge because we believe that kids should not, we don't want kids to be going out there, inputting a lot of capital into an idea until they've
Hmm.
proved the concept. So with the $20 challenge is the kids can start with a product or a service-based business, and basically they can go out with that $20, go out and sell their service or sell what it is that they're planning for their product business, and invest it as many times over as they can. Now, a really cool example of this that I love is we actually have the record for our $20 challenge is over. Initially, when we started running this, most of the kids would do around $500 of sales with that initial
Okay.
$20.
Hmm.
But the great thing is that they would actually learn. They'd get a picture of the product they were planning on selling. They'd go online, they'd post it, and they'd wake up the next morning to sales. And they'd be like, hey, Sheri and Ben, we didn't even need the $20 to start with. And that's what we love, because we want kids to see that as entrepreneurs, being resourceful and taking action, they don't even necessarily need the capital to get going. It's just taking those actions, putting themselves out there, and they will be rewarded. And so that's really cool. And so then kids that would do the $20 challenge, most of the kids now do over $1,000 in their first month. And these are
Okay.
kids with no prior business experience. They've literally just loved the idea, come along, watch the training, and get out and take action. And so the record at the moment is over $5,000, just over
Oh, wow.
$5,000 in their first 30 days.
That's
So it really goes
awesome.
to show what's possible for young people, just getting out and taking those actions, implementing, and the success will come. And so that's what I love. And so we also have a 1K club trophy, and it started off with a $20 challenge. So all the kids that did $1,000 or more in their first month, we love to recognize. We ship them a trophy. We hop on and do a strategy call with them, because we really want to see them succeed, and so want to help them as much as we can. So yeah, we do calls, we do online training, and really try and help kids map out how they're going to grow and scale that business for the long term.
Awesome. Very cool. One just other question that just came to my mind. I guess what are some of like the favorite like products and or concepts that these kids have like introduced or that are going well, like that you've worked with? I'm just curious, like
Yeah.
what they're
Yeah,
doing
so
out there.
another great one that I absolutely love, we had Kai join the program when he was 13.
Kai is
Kai
my
had
older
always,
son's name.
oh,
My
lovely.
older son is Nick Kai. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and so he had always struggled. He had a couple of learning difficulties, dyslexia,
Mhm.
ADHD, and so Kai had never really um, got a lot of self-esteem from the schooling environment. He always
Mhm.
struggled academically, and I think kids that fit into that basket naturally fit into business and entrepreneurship so well, because they think differently, they're really creative, and they have a lot of skills, but they aren't necessarily recognized by the school system. And so Kai
Right.
was really struggling mentally and emotionally. And
Mhm.
so his mum, Jo, joined the program, and we were able to help Kai really scale his business. He's actually running a 7-figure business now. He's 16. His mum and dad, another example that have quit their business and work full time. And he's recently been on some more media and TV. And so he's literally, and what he sells is sensory fidgets that really helped him with his learning. So what happened was,
Ah.
they had traveled to New Zealand. They'd found this really cool product that was really not like fidget spinners. We're talking like
Mhm.
really quiet, discreet fidgets that really helped him with his learning difficulties.
Mhm.
And he found massive help in the classroom with that. And so he said, "Mum, hey, I want to help other kids that are like me." And so originally they started their business creating these products in their garage with bike chain and metal, created these really cool fidgets. Obviously, long term, they've now outscaled their production elsewhere, so they're not having
Right,
to make
right.
all the products. But the great thing is, what I love with Kai is, she said it's like completely changed his mindset, because he's finding that success in the business world that he didn't find in the
Mhm.
academic and school world. It's just huge for Kai and his self-esteem. He's super excited. He's the CEO of his business. He'll be graduating school in a couple of years, and has big plans for stepping straight into his business as CEO and running and growing and scaling that. And so I think if you have a kid that doesn't necessarily fit the schooling system, business and entrepreneurship is a really great way. I have one of these. My second son has a learning difficulty and is never going to be an academic kid. And so
Mhm.
with his business, he's able to be recognized and really build his self-esteem. So when we used to run live events, he'd come on stage and talk to 1,000 people, and he'd be like, "Wow, Mum, I'm famous now." And people will actually ask for their autograph, and he, like, the first time he turned to me and he said, "Mum, what's an autograph?" So that's really cool. I think that your kids can be recognized in a different way, and obviously just build their self-esteem. And no matter what it is that your kids want to achieve, I think if you can build them up, that's just a great stepping stone for them on their journey.
Hmm. Awesome. It reminds me, that story kind of reminds me of this kid. He's grown now, but when he was younger, he always had high functioning autism. And back then it was called Asperger's. And
Yep.
he literally started a business called Asperger Experts. And it was all about, you have a kid who has high functioning autism or Asperger's, learn from someone who has it. And he like has all these online courses, this support community, and like it's amazing like what he has done. He's just taken a challenge that he dealt with as a child and like has communicated that learning and made it so much bigger than himself, right? And is he knows what he went through, and now he is helping other families that are going through the same thing that he and his family did.
That is so brilliant. I love that. And I think, if you, yeah, we'll talk about making an impact on the world. And I think that's another great thing to really talk about with our young people is like, what's the legacy or what difference do you really want to make? So, like I said, with Ned donating part of his profits to ocean cleanups, a lot of the entrepreneurs that we work with, we actually do a training called Doing Good is Great Business. And so how they can really make a difference. Now, for every kid, they have different causes that they're passionate about, but that's an amazing example. And yeah, absolutely love it.
Yeah, I really believe, and today I think it's becoming, we are becoming so much more like socially conscious. And I think the world is evolving in such a way that brands really need to have like, they need to take a stand for like what's important to them, like on a global, on a social, on a social, in a social way, right? I was over the weekend I was watching college football, and Dr. Pepper, a soda company. I don't know if you have Dr. Pepper there or
Yeah.
not, but
Yeah,
anyway,
we do.
yeah, they just had the most awesome like halftime event, and they were giving out $100,000 in college tuition. It was like two kids would go against each other, and they would like try to toss the football into like a big, Dr. Pepper can. And whoever tossed the most footballs in there won this $100,000 college tuition. And, in America, like cost of tuition is just astronomical. It's ridiculous. And so like the fact that that brand, of course they're a big brand, but they took a stand for what's important to them. And it's not just about selling their soda or all of their other drinks. They obviously value college education, and they're supporting that.
That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I think I try and teach my kids that as people, we're lifelong learners because my
Mm-hmm.
kids are like, oh, you don't go to college or school anymore, mum. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm always learning. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening to great things. And I think we actually have a media club with Youth in Business because we
Okay.
believe that, the books and the media that we really expose our kids to are really going to shape them. And so, yeah, education is obviously a major part of that. And I think with a lot of the kids with entrepreneurs and businesses that they can, if they want to go to college, let's say, and become, a dentist, that's great. But when they have the business skills from running their own business, they can become the business owner of a chain of dental practices. So they can
Sure.
still have the skills from going to college,
Mm-hmm.
but they can implement them in such a way that they can, you know what I mean, be
Yeah,
instead of
absolutely.
just working for someone else as a dentist, they
Mm-hmm.
can be the owner of the business and expanding their range from there. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, absolutely. So on this podcast, we talk about mojo, right? And to me, mojo is kind of like your energy, or your life energy, or that magic superpower that you bring to the world. Tell me, what is your mojo, and how do you like maintain that mojo and stay on your mission? Like, what would you tell other like mission driven entrepreneurs out there that have a big mission? They're trying to create positive impact on the world. How do you stay on that mission?
Sure. I actually struggled with this question when I first read it. I was just like, I don't know. I don't know what is unique to me, I guess, in terms of mojo. But then thinking about it and reflecting more, I think something that's always helped me have big success, whether it was previously when I was a teacher, or when my husband and I traveled the world, or when we started Youth in Business. A huge part of my success has been having a really clear goal with what I'm doing. So having really succinct goals. With our kids, we create vision boards with them, because they're obviously young, where they have colourful pictures and so on of things they want to achieve in their life for the year. And so I think for me, having really clear goals of exactly of what do I want to achieve, and then it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so really having that really big goal that for us, we had the goal of, we want to be financially free and escape our jobs and not have to be in the rat race. And that took us 6 years, but we were able to work backwards from there. What can I do what do I need to do this week to achieve that goal? And what can I do today? And so I think, having a big dream, but also reverse engineering it and really putting into, because it really comes back to those small and consistent actions that we do on a daily and weekly basis that really shape where we end up. If you think about a big cruise ship out in the ocean, you change that destination path by only 2 degrees and you'll end up in a completely different area. And so I think if we can think about how, set a goal, but most importantly, think about what can you do today, even if it's only one thing, what can you do to really implement that? And so I'm not perfect at this, obviously. Sometimes you shoot for the stars and you only, get to the clouds, but you're way higher than where you started. And so I think if you can, setting goals has been really great. It keeps me on track. It gives me purpose for what I'm doing, and also gives me those measurable things to make sure that I'm implementing it. And they don't always go according to plan. We teach the young entrepreneurs in our program that, we'll set a goal and we're here and we think, oh yeah, it'll just be a slight incline there, but we go along the journey and you'll fall into a pit and you've got to scale a ladder to get out, and then there'll be an obstacle in the way and you've got to overcome that, and the actual journey to get there, but you're on that upward trajectory the whole time. And so I think setting goals and really having a plan that you put into place, whether your kid wants to be a state athlete, whether they want to, write a book, whether they want to buy their first home. Like we've had kids in the program buy a home before they're 18 as an investment property. It's definitely achievable. What can we do today and this week? And I think just reviewing your goals on a daily basis is a really great way to keep your mind focused on where you want to end up on that journey and have that success.
I love it. I love it. So any other parting words for kids that might be listening, or parents that have like budding entrepreneurs that you want to share before we
Yeah, so if you have a child that's interested, or if you are that child, I would just encourage you to take action. I think especially as adults, we can get stuck in, oh, I've got to have the perfect website or the perfect this, the perfect plan, the perfect product. What I've learned on my business and entrepreneurial journey is that the thing done is better than the perfect thing not done. And so if you get out and take action, I remember when we first launched Youth in Business, we just quickly shot these Facebook ads, and I was just like, oh, that shirt I was wearing was so terrible. Look at my hair. So then I was motivated to change it, right? And then you make it better and you tweak it as you go. But I think in life, we often get stuck in, oh, I can't, especially with the business, put anything out there until it's perfect. But I think for young people that are motivated, if you take action, you will be rewarded. The great thing about getting out, we talk about in Youth in Business, selling it before you build it. So literally have some pictures of a product that you're wanting to sell and go out and promote that and say, hey, I'm launching my business. The great thing about getting out and taking action is people will give you a lot of market research. People will say, hey, I love that, but do you have an organic range? Or do you have this color? Or And so if you are able to talk and connect with people, they will guide you as you grow your
Yes.
business with what they're wanting. And so I think sometimes, and I've been guilty of this, coming up with such a big plan, you get so focused on what you think people want. And then when you get out there to actually launch it, you find out that the demand is in a completely different direction. So I think if you can just get out there as a young person and take action, say, watch the training at youthandbusiness.com. That will teach you how to get out there and implement it and really be able to take action. You will be rewarded. You will learn, you will grow, and people will start telling you what they're looking for, and you can really build and grow your business around what the market is telling you. And so, remember, the thing done is better than the perfect thing not done, would be my words
Awesome.
of advice.
Yay. So thank you so much, Sheri, for being here. And I just hope that this inspires all mission driven entrepreneurs, young and old, to stay on your mission and just make the world a better place.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Laurie. I've loved being with you and your audience. Really excited to be with you, and can't wait to hear and more about your podcast in the future. And wishing you all the best.
Thank you. That's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in to the On a Mission Mojo podcast. Ready to dive into more incredible stories of people on a mission? Next week, I'll return with a fresh episode to ignite your passion for creating a better world. If you loved what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a glowing review, and spread the word to all your friends. Head over to onamissionbrands.com for more great episodes. Remember, the world needs your mojo, so go out there and let your brilliance shine.